All right, welcome to Phase 1, Part 4. We're going to be wrapping this up quick and painlessly. I hope that you have been having fun along the way, regardless of how uncomfortable it's been. No struggle, no progress, right? So we're going to be wrapping this up. Now, this one is going to be a little different than what you're probably used to. And I always preface this because whenever I do this part of this course live, people are used to, staying on the path to success, and then you hear some hoopla, and then I play some inspirational music, and then you get like some template, and you're like, all right. This one is going to be, as you probably guessed it, psychology based. And the thing about this is that it's always about, um, you know, people working against themselves. And I said this before, and I said again. I am always intrigued by why people do what they do. I'm pretty sure you've met somebody that they're doing something, and this could very, very well be you as well. Do something so self-sabotaging, and you're like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Um, I recently worked with somebody, an investment banker, and he was, for all intents and purposes, the guy was doing great. His wife is also successful. They were kicking ass financially, but they would just get themselves into some real weird, just, I don't want to get into it into long, but ultimately the human behavior, self-sabotage is a real thing. And most people will work against themselves. And if you're wondering why, we're about to get into it. If you're not wondering why, I hope that you at the very least have those questions after this, because whether we like to or not, it doesn't matter how perfect someone's life seems on Instagram or YouTube or on TV, human behavior is human behavior. And as I've said before, the past is built on people and people are built on patterns. And the reason that history will always repeat itself is because the majority of people do not want to identify that pattern and disrupt it. And that will come from many different reasons. Scarcity mindset tends to be the top one. I also like to call it crabs in a barrel. Low self-esteem and worth will play a huge part in why someone might self-sabotage themselves. Now, again, this could very well be you, whether you realize it or not. Shiny object syndrome, it's exactly what it sounds like. I've talked about this extensively, but if you are new to this, shiny object syndrome, at the end of the day, it's sort of like a disease of attention. I want you to picture a baby walking down, sorry, not walking, a baby in a carriage, and you're walking down the aisle, and you see this baby in a cart at like a Target or a Walmart or a store, and they're walking down. That baby's going to want everything that's shiny. And when it comes to people in their businesses, professional lives and their businesses, they tend to fall into that trap too, because they're coming from a scarcity mindset. They're thinking, well, I need to pay the bills. I need to do this. I need to do that. I can go on and on, but I will just use a very recent example of this. Up until now, not to disparage the whole area, but a lot of the people that I work with that tend to be from like the LA area, for example, suffer from this a lot. Shiny object syndrome is crazy. Um, I don't think it's a coincidence. Anywho, La La Land, as some people call it, shiny object syndrome will look a lot like this. The last, I want to say, 5 clients, students, whatever they want to call themselves, that I have sat and worked with, it comes down to, they will be very concise in what they want to achieve after some digging. They'll get very excited, they'll get pumped, but they always seem to outsmart themselves. And in the last 4 to 5 people that I've had this experience with, they all did the exact same thing. Excited, charge forward, and then they get around more people that grand scheme and think out loud, and they get excited. And they get excited, and chemistry in their brain is going nuts, and all of a sudden, that idea that they had, they now have a bigger idea, and then a bigger idea, and then a better idea. And I'll give you an even further example of what I told them. Because it's funny, because all 5 of them came to me, oh my God, I fucked up, Kat. What's going on? And I told them about the story, and it's not original to me. It's a very old story. It's about a king with a lamp. And I won't do the whole thing now here, because it's usually like a little longer. It's a few minutes. But long story short is this king just really is dying for this lamp that apparently grants wishes, doubles everything. Everything you wish for, it gives you double. And he finally gets a hold of the lamp, and he locks himself up into a room, and he makes a wish. He says, I want 100 women. Lamb says, wouldn't you want 200? Yes. Boom, 200 women appear. And he said, I want another kingdom. Boom, gives him another kingdom. And long story short, he does that over and over. He then goes and asks for an army of 10,000. What about 20,000? Boom, 20,000. And he spent the whole weekend in there and died of starvation. And that's exactly how it works when you really let the coulda, shoulda, wouldas get to you, because that is one of the easiest ways for people to fall into shiny object syndrome, and they don't realize it, is they speak too much to coulda, shoulda, wouldas. And that can take its own course of action. You might have a really cool idea, you might be doing something, and you talk to someone about it, whoever, a friend, family, spouse, partner, and oh, you could do this, you could do that. Here's the thing, just say thank you. Say thank you very much, I appreciate your insight, I will look into it, and leave it at that. If you want to give it any importance, go ahead, give it importance, but leave it on the side. So, without further ado, we're going into living my best life. So this is an exercise based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you're not familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it is essentially a pyramid of our human needs, basic needs. And they start off, you know what? I won't even, Maslow's, here you go. If you are familiar, this will seem, and like you've seen it already. And if you haven't, here you are. Whoa, no, I want a bigger one. There you go. So, here are our needs. It's like physiological. So, this is like food, shelter, things like that. Then there's safety, belonging, esteem, cognitive, and so on, and so on, and so on. Now, you see right here? Right here? So, the thing is that a lot of the reasons why you might experience shiny object syndrome is something here was missing. And I can go on without boring you, but whenever there's a lag, something missing here, it makes a lot of mental blocks real. And I'll give you an example of this right now. There is distress and eustress. So good stress and bad stress, right? If you've ever been excited, you are experiencing eustress. If you've ever been stressed, distress. The funny part about it is that they both exhibit the exact same symptoms. The only difference is what you've assigned to it emotionally. Now, as you remember before, I brought this up. It's about the emotion you assign to things. It's so powerful. So, when it comes to this exercise, I'm going to go through a little bit of it with you because this is very personal to you. And again, this is one of the benefits of doing something in this format, is that you don't actually have to share it with anyone. It's for you. So, I also added it in the order kind of backwards, right? So, certainty, we started there. Human nature is to avoid pain. It's just pain and pleasure. It's just how we're wired, okay? And this piece of the hierarchy is based on absolute necessities. Well, necessary needs. I need food, I need shelter, so there you go. I need food. And you'll see why we're going to go into this. I need food, I need shelter, health. Oh, I did misspell that. Damn. Grammarly again for the win. I mentioned it so many times already. I'm just going to go ahead and include it up there. Anywho, these are, so this, let's say I'm you and I'm filling it out, or this is something I commonly do when it comes to this side. So anywho, food, shelter, health. Now, this will come up later and you'll see how. Uncertainty. Now, uncertainty is awesome because, perfect example, and I did write it here, is, do you love surprises? I tend to laugh and tell people bullshit because even with that, it's down to the emotion. A lot of the times, those problems, people tell me, "Oh, my problem is this," and I didn't see it coming. That was a surprise. You just didn't like it, so you now described it as a problem. And the thing is that uncertainty is what feeds us. I mean, if you've ever watched a movie of adventure and they go out and they set out, that is uncertainty. That love that we have for travel, that love that we have for discovering something new, that's uncertainty. It's an actual basic need. It's the same thing that drives a lot of entrepreneurs. Now, we might hate the hustle, the struggle, and not knowing, holy shit, what's going to happen next, but we love that we don't know what's going to happen next. So I give you some examples here. So as you fill this out, you can go ahead and use it. If they apply to you, go ahead and use them. So I need constant opportunities, adventure. Now I put constant good news because I've actually had people tell me this. I just if I tell them, what kind of uncertainty do you love? Oh man, I love good news. I really do love good news. All right, cool. Write that down. And then significance. Now, here you go. I remember I was going into this. So there's certain things that need to be filled before you can hit there. Now, there's a reason I got into this part. If this is missing, and remember I told you I'm going to get into it. If this is missing, right? If you're missing food, shelter, health. And by the way, health is both mental and physical. Right? So if you have a maladaptive disorder, if you have anxiety, yada, 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 that will feed into this one. And here's an example. Let's say on the mental side, a lot of people that I talk to, they will say, oh man, I suffer from anxiety. Oh, perfect example. I'm talking to a doctor right now. He and she, it's a couple, but he suffers from crippling OCD. She suffers from, it makes sense, he's a surgeon, and she suffers from ADHD. And this part right here, I need constant opportunities, is a basic human need. However, to them, right, that's bad. That's stressful. To them, it is fucking stressful. Why? Because there's a gap here. There's a gap in the certainty aspect. And then when it comes to constant good news, because that is it's a surprise part that we love, to some people it can be considered bad. Now, in this part, the constant good news, right? If you're missing food, which in America is a huge problem, there's a lot of people that face food uncertainty, believe it or not, that can actually make you very scared, to the point where there are people who develop eating disorders. There are people who overeat. There are people who undereat, right? Why? Because you've got a gap. I'm hoping you're noticing the pattern by now, right? So let's move on to the next one. Significance. I spent some time here because these are the two that you really want to focus on immediately. Once you've explored these, then we move on to this one, significance. And this one is interesting because a lot of the times when I have done a talk, or regardless, a team coaching, whatever the hell, this one tends to be the one that people lead with, right here, significance. They rarely ever say, I want to get married. They always talk about significance and growth. The funny part is, as you see where I'm going with this, right? Growth is up here. These are steps, right? Growth is here. Significance is here. These two are at the bottom. I'm putting them at the top because this is the ones that you should lead with. So this is step 1, step 2, step 3, and so on. So significance is feeling special. Now, I recently talked to someone, really, really cool agency owner from Europe. And he said, I want to feel like my life has significance. I want to feel like my contributions meant something. That's a need. That's an actual need that he would put here. So for him, it would be feeling significance. As you can tell, typing is not my forte. And then as we kept talking, I asked him, I was like, well, why do you need to feel significant? And he actually went on and told me, he's like, he wants the respect of his family. That was important to him. That was a need, right? That was a real need that he had, and it was real. So we jotted it down. And then we kept talking, and he grew up poor like I did. And he was telling me, he's like, this is something that's very important to me. It drives me. I didn't have it. I have it now. But it's always like a sore subject for him. Remember I went up here, right? Food and shelter. As a kid, he didn't have that. So it was an unmet need for so long that it went unmet for so long that it then went into him being really, really, really focused on driving forward, on getting shit done. And he is, well, is getting better now. And he was very skeptical of people. He had huge trust issues. So things like opportunities and adventures were a no-go for him. That guy was not about adventures. You told him, hey, there's a gold mine in California. He would never go because he would say, no, I need to see it in writing. I need to see a video, and blah, blah, blah. Again, he needs that certainty. And it all stems from this. It's just how we're wired. So, as you're filling this out, take your time, because this one is, I'll admit it, it's one of the not easiest ones. And then, of course, there's connection and love. Okay? And these are just the easiest, the most blatant ones. Team single, people talk about marriage, that they're really harping on marriage, that it's to them, it's a pinnacle, it's an accomplishment. And if there's anything that I've noticed over time in societal changes is that, that's starting to change. But for a very, very long time, marriage was considered an accomplishment. Why? I don't know, but that's a discussion. Or people that say my circle's so small, or people that say no fuck given. Believe it or not, those are actually people that are having gaps in this area, the connection and love. Because it's human basic need. It's nature. It's science. And you just can't negate science. And it's about getting honest with yourself about what your basic needs look like. Even if you're okay being alone, as in not in a relationship, you could just very well want friends. I mean, I've got a friend who is much older now. He was married, he had his kids, and frankly, he's enjoying his life now as a single bachelor just traveling through Europe. He runs a resort and for about 8 months a year, and for the rest of the time, he just travels around, and he loves that. That's what he loves, because one of his connection needs is friendship, right? That's his. And it's about discovering what you want. Now, I'm bringing this up because when I did this live, someone asked me, what the hell does this have to do with, this course? What the actual fuck, he said. And of course, we all laughed about it. But I was like, look, at the end of the day, clarity is power. So if you can manage yourself, that means auditing and being honest with yourself and taking care of yourself, scaling what you need, yada yada, plug in those holes. I was like, everything else becomes easier because everything rhymes. So while this exercise did get a lot of people uncomfortable, the ones who actually went through it had massive breakthroughs, specifically because, oh shit, why do I want to be an entrepreneur? I actually had 2 people realize they didn't want to be entrepreneurs. They were just looking to meet the needs they were tired of having lack of food and shelter, right? Their bosses weren't paying them enough. And what we ended up discovering is that, well, they're really fucking skilled. They don't have the time, the energy, or any of that time of expertise to actually become entrepreneurs. So what they're now doing is becoming an intrapreneur. And what an intrapreneur is someone who is essentially an entrepreneur in residence. So picture a company, right? You act like an entrepreneur in terms of testing, creating new things, innovating in some way, and it's on the company's dollar. And those people could also be, executives or managers, etc. But at the end of the day, this is another reason why these are so important. As they were going through this exercise, and then obviously mixing in with here, start with why, the SWOT analysis, it's very important that you be open and honest with yourself, because you're not going to get that far if you're not. It's just, I know many people who will try. I have met many people who have tried, and I don't think it's a coincidence that they're all where they are right now. So be honest with yourself. If you want a relationship, be honest, because then you can figure out why you need that. Okay? And then it's human nature to grow. You rust, right? That's just how it works. Self-actualization is going to be a byproduct of this. And this is where it gets interesting. So on the grow side, right? This could be, as I said to you during the SWOT analysis, someone said something along the lines of, I want to be more interesting. That's actually growth. So in that guy's case, he wants to become more interesting. better looking, smarter. You get the point, right? Go for it. And by the way, these all work in tandem. At the end of the day, when you have these three together, you're going to essentially look at yourself as what you actually are and where you want to go. And that's really what we're looking to do here, is building a bridge. Here's where I am. Here's where I want to go. Now, I'm going to add a little, it's towards the end, I'm actually going to go into how this works. So contribute beyond yourselves. Once you have a calling, right? My life has changed when I kept finding my calling. You will always have a calling. Don't think that it's just an epiphany. It's, oh my God, that's it. That's for the rest of my life. I will tell you, not only through personal experience, but through also anecdotally, seeing it myself with others, is you will consistently have a new level. And that's essentially what calling is, like a level up. And that's where self-actualization comes from. It's contributing beyond yourself. You know, it's about putting something else out there that is going to, there you go. And it all comes down to the hierarchy of needs. Because at the end of the day, is if you're meeting your needs, once you meet your needs, then you can meet others. So contributing to yourself, and I'll give you an example. Someone at a recent told me, oh, I want to inspire and motivate others. Why? Well, because I didn't have it. Okay, do you have it now? Do you meet all your needs? Are you rich? Are you this? Are you that? No. And then we all got a little quiet. We're like, well, how are you going to motivate anybody then? You're not there yet. And he had this, like, he looked like I pressed, the power button and the pause button all at the same time. He looked like he was stuck. And it was because that's what happens when you're not open and honest with yourself. You get stuck. And the whole premise of this course is getting unstuck. It's okay to be a beginner. It's okay to be a sophomore. None of us are ever really masters. So once you take care of yourself, then you can take care of others. I've seen many people have followed the course of saying, listen, you cannot help poor people by being one of them, right? Well, the same thing. You can't help broken people by staying one of them. You can't help people that are stuck by being stuck. And a lot of people, and I do mention it specifically because in the motivation era now, right? I remember 2009, 2010, I started my first motivation page just sharing shit. And over the course of years, everyone had one. And all of a sudden, I would meet, because again, this was not my being giving people the benefit of the doubt. I'll never forget, big motivation page. Not going to shout their name out because I think it's worth to do that. But they had a massive following. Massive, massive, massive. We're talking like a million or so. And he, we already knew each other. So on one of my trips to California, I decided to go meet him. And this is not to disparage anyone with a job, because that's not what I'm trying to say here. What I'm trying to say is he worked at Starbucks. And he lived with his parents. And he was figuring life out. And he was still going through his process. And he said to me, I'm doing this because I want to inspire people. I want to motivate people because I didn't have this. He also said a very similar thing. And I'm sitting there like, okay, well, what happens when someone actually hits you up for advice? He said, I don't respond. Or if I started responding, he was like, I'll just send them somewhere. So you could see how this starts to take a life of its own. And he's not actually meeting his needs. And the reason I met up with him was because he was severely depressed. So, anywho, without getting all solemn on you, even if you're not there, right? How can you contribute beyond yourself is a very good way to kind of give yourself, like, this is what it looks like at the end of the rainbow, right? Now, here's what I said I was going to go a little bit further. So, you have you start with why, you've got your SWOT analysis, right? We're going to go into this into the next part, but I want to give you an example of how you can start once you finish these exercises, right? So here's where you are. All right, check this out. Oh, actually, this kind of goes the same. All right, check this out. So here's where you are. Once you're honest with yourself, right? I'm going to use a hypothetical of someone I recently sat down with, and we did this. He said, actually, no, I have a better one for you. She said, I did one with a really interesting individual. She just went on, blah, blah. Here's where I want to be. She said, I want to be successful. All right, cool. What does that look like? What is success to you? She said, I don't have to worry about money. Okay, what else? She said, I want to travel when I want. Right? She said, I want to be independent. Okay, these are all good things, right? Well, then came the part of, let's be honest with each other. Where are you today? I worry about money. I can't travel. I live with my boyfriend who I hate. Okay, so we're like, all right, cool. What is the underlying theme here? Wait. It was this one. Whoops. Do all your problems have in common? Leave this one empty for now. All right, so this part right here is a little extra, just to kind of share this with you. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I need to move my screen around. Why is this not clicking? Oh, there you go. Oh, okay. Okay, so, oh, there you go. Wow, apologies. Okay, theme that will help you. All right, so I said, okay, here's where you are. This is where you want to be. That was easy. Here's where you are. That sucks. But okay, what's a theme that's going to help you? I asked her. And she's like, what? I was like, if you were to like write a slogan for it, what would it look like? And we got to talking, and obviously we had already done these 3 steps already: the SWOT analysis, the blah blah blah. And she goes, honestly, I need more self-worth. I need to really remind myself what I'm worth. I think that will help me so much. Go. Know your worth, I said. Add tax. She laughed, of course, whatever, but she's like, yeah, that's easy to remember. All right, cool. I said, what do all your problems have in common? The money, because of money you can't travel, and because you don't have money you live with your boyfriend. So I was like, what do they all have in common? She goes, well, money, duh. I'm like, okay, but why don't you have more money? That wasn't a stupid question. I legitimately asked her, I was like, why do you think you're not making the amount of money? And she's like, well, where I work. She goes, been there for a few years, and I was promised a raise. I didn't really get it. Okay, why didn't you get it? Well, like I got overlooked, and my performance review didn't come in that great, and I didn't get my raise like I was supposed to, etc. I'm like, so what you're saying is you weren't really establishing yourself in terms of your worth. So we laughed about that, of course, and I was like, well, what are your spending habits like? Oh, I love to buy myself, treats. I love to treat myself. And I was like, well, why are you spending that money like that if, as you said, you don't get paid enough? Well, she goes, well, somebody's got to do it, right? I got to do that. I was like, well, what are your savings like? She goes, I don't really have money to save. So I said, okay, so you're filling a need with something else, consumerism. So she said, what do all your problems have in common? Lack of money and discipline. And the discipline came to, of course, also her self-worth. And obviously that led her. So anywho, and living with the boyfriend, the same things, because whatever. So what are the 3 things? I said, what are the top 3 things that you need to change? I was like, what do the steps look like if you were to take to get to nirvana? I like to call it nirvana. I was like, if you were to summarize it in 3 steps? How do you get to nirvana? And it's funny because once we go through this exercise, I'm summarizing just really quickly so I can get through this video with you and I don't bore you. But she was very, very quickly able to tell me, oh, okay. She said, I need to charge more. I need to keep more. What do you think the last one was? I need to charge more. I need to keep more. I need to see more. And I gotta commend her because she got boom. It was like she had that epiphany. She's like, oh shit. And that's when we had that funny moment. And I said, guess what? This right here, I said, after all this is said and done, this is what you gotta focus on. I said to her after I was like, as soon as you leave this meeting, this is what you gotta focus on. These are your top 3 things because that's how you're gonna get where you want to. And that's how you start. You start essentially analyzing yourself. Okay? So these things are very important because some of the people that I've had the honor of helping have actually started to take these steps. They've taken these steps and they're not easy, man. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not some like, oh, and by the way, I don't know if you've noticed by now, this course is not just some regurgitation of like a million other things and repeating shit that you could easily see on Instagram, whatever. No, these are real life examples. This is someone that I personally have a shit ton of respect for. Haratini, she's in business development in both real estate and the nonprofit world. And this is a person that, frankly, there was a lot of resistance because she's very steadfast, very independent, and everyone sees her as the go-to person. So, of course, she's sitting there wondering, well, what the hell? Why am I having a struggle? Well, kudos to her, a million kudos. She's kicking ass. She's now pivoting into a whole new other field where I am 100% sure that she is going to crush it and make probably 3 times the amount of money. If you're watching this, then I actually do believe that. And if you're not her watching it, I'm telling you this why. I'm telling you this because people like Haratini are sitting on a gold mine of opportunity. And there's a lot of things that are getting in their way that are personal, right? And there's a plethora of reasons why. But the thing is that, okay, it comes down to, why am I stuck? And a lot of times it's you. Someone else that I recently worked with, bright individual. This person went from kind of thinking about it to now they're like the go-to. He's got people traveling miles to work with him as a trainer, and it's pretty awesome to see. This is another very awesome individual. I'm going to really try to beat him over the head every chance I get because he also has this wall up where, again, super bright, sitting on shit ton of potential, and then there's that thing that gets in his way. And I bring him up, and I share this with you because this is someone I know for a fact is going to disrupt an industry. And here's the thing. I wouldn't be sharing these people if I didn't actually believe in them. And I share this with you because as you go along, all the hard part, all the shit that you hate about this, you are going to really, really be appreciative when you get over that hump. This is someone else that I have a shit ton of respect for, an attorney that I worked with, and even as we speak, he's going through his own breakthroughs. And gotta tell you, man, I know for a fact he's going to disrupt the music industry and the entertainment industry. And of course, talking to people like you on Instagram, on Facebook. I don't really do Facebook that much, but Instagram and YouTube really is where I do the most of my talking to you guys. And I honestly think that there's a plethora of opportunity, and I get that. And I've learned to stop falling in love with potential. It's more about the execution side, and that's when I realized, oh shit, the execution side, the reason it's so difficult for a lot of people to get that breakthrough and get themselves what they are owed, what they deserve, frankly, it just comes down to because there's a lot of rah-rah out there. There's not a lot of, okay, here are the next steps in a very real manner. And I say that because with the Change the Game Challenge, for example, I've had a few people already now. I'm up to now 4 people. There's a 5th that I suspect that I have spent just a massive amount of money on something that promised them the world and the stars, and then when it came to find out, it was just lackluster. And that's just the start of it. I've been doing this style for 7 years. I've been in the business for well over 10, but in terms of helping people a little bit more on the back end of it, I should say 7 years. And it's been fun ever since. I recently delved into the online sector because I got really tired of seeing the fuckery that is shared with people, because I think it's very unfair. I think that people like you work way too hard, believe in something bigger than yourselves, and I really think that it's not going to benefit too many people in the long run to keep believing in hype and magic fairy tales. And I get it why people love fairy tales, and I get it, but it's just not fair because there's real life consequences to that. It's really hard to sit there and talk to somebody and hear that their kids or whatever are in some bad situation because they went and dumped all their money believing in some system that was going to apparently give them $30,000 in their bank account. So I want you to remember, as I said in the beginning of phase one, is you never know what you don't know, but I said it in a different way. I said I want you to employ critical thinking, and you are going to really enjoy a massive amount of success once you not only just believe in yourself, because I know that's cliche at this point, it's just explore yourself. Exploring yourself is going to make such a difference because you will become essentially bulletproof. Whether it be corporate America or entrepreneur, you navigate a lot of bullshit. So if you can control and audit and scale your character, it doesn't matter what the circumstances are. Because garbage in, garbage out. If you're half-assing it or if you have some holes in your process, then those are going to show no matter what you do. It's inevitable. So thank you so much for watching. This has been phase one. I look forward to seeing you in phase two. My name is Catriel C. Sarfati, also known as Nerdground Rogue. So remember to feed that curiosity, aim a lot higher, okay? And create, don't compete. See you in the next one.